All right, so let's add some tees and aim points to our course. Let's go back into GreenKeeper here. We just did our hazards and we're moving on to tees. I'm going to show you how to do a par 3, a par 4, and a par 5 hole because they are slightly different when it comes to aim points. And understanding those is going to be critical for functionality and also doing a decent job of managing your course. So in here, first of all, we come in over here to tees. And the first thing we do is decide what tees we're going to put on our course. In this course, I'm going to add some white tees, some green tees, some red tees. And then I also like to add junior and par threes to every course I have. I think it's a nice touch for all of our users that they have the option to have their kids play or have a par 3 course. Don't worry about this tee and slope data entry yet. We'll get to that in another video. But now we're going to go and we're going to start on a par 3. I'm going to start on a par 3, and I do know that hole 2 is a par 3. I'm going to come here and I'm going to go to add selected, and I'm going to click someplace in the middle of my hole, which is right here. Now this hole, here's the green. This is a tee box, and a tee box. And you can see these things are dropped down here. The reason I drop them down here is I'm going to increase the size a little bit, is because the first thing I like to do is take this little purple thing. And that's kind of like my green yardage marker. So I'm going to move that to the center of my green. And then what that's going to do is it's always going to give me the distance for a par 3, okay, specifically for a par 3. It's going to be giving me the distance between all these markers and there, so I get an idea of how far things are. So you can see this one says P3. Well, that is my P3, my par 3 tee marker. So that's here. I'm going to move this back to my shortest spot in my tees, and I can see when I do that, I've got 130 yards there. That's pretty good for a par 3 type course. And then my whites are going to be my long ones. I'm going to move them back there, and I like to have them, you want to put them pretty much in the middle of your tee box because that's going to control where your tee markers show up in game. And my green is going to be my middle ones. I'm going to drop those right there. My red one's going to be my front tees, or some people call them the ladies tees, but that's not PC. Don't do that anymore. Call them the short tees. That's probably a thing against short people, though. I don't know. And then the juniors. The juniors, the rule of thumb, whatever you want, is I make my juniors 50% from the tips. So my tip here is 180, so I should make these around 90. So you can see now my junior tee is right there. Your par 3 and junior tees do not need to be on a tee box, okay? The game will adjust so that you're on a flat area. I do know there's a flat area right here, so it should look good here. So don't worry about putting your par 3s or making tee boxes. Just try to put them like on a fairway, okay? That's all you really need to do. Now you can see in here, I can delete these if I need to. I can delete them all. So, I can also add, if I want to add yellows, I can hit add selected and it should drop a yellow now, okay? But I don't want a yellow, so I'm going to highlight yellow and I'm going to do delete selected. Whoops, I deleted everything else but that because I had it selected. Okay, so I was essentially done there. I'm not going to do these again. Well, I guess I could do add selected, put these back in. Now they're back in. Um, if I wanted to delete the yellow, I just have to make sure that yellow is selected. My fault. Not going to show you me placing those around again. So let's go to a par 4. Hole 1 is a par 4, and what's slightly different about par 4s is you have an aim point. Let me show you what that looks like. So let me zoom out here. So I've got green, I've got fairway, and I know that my tee box, there's one here and there's one here. So let me go to hole 1 now, and I'm going to select those. You shouldn't need to select these every time. Once you select them, it'll keep that. Just they got unselected because I was doing delete selected. Add selected, drop this here. Let me increase the size again. Now your aim point, I'm going to drop that in the middle of my fairway. I'm going to use put my pin, my T or my green marker down here. And I'm not going to go crazy. There's my juniors. I like to place my long ones first. I know my whites are going to go on the tips there. Green will be in the front of that tee box. Reds are going to be here. My par 3, let's see what that yardage is. I like to have my par 3s always less than 150. It's up to you. Let's put this at 104, that's good. And then my juniors are 50%, so we got 342, so what's that, 170 about that should be? So 170 will be right about here at the end of this fairway. Now my aim point. You can see my aim point, the reason we put this out here is when this hole boots up in game, everyone's going to be pointed to your first aim point. Red's going to be here, green's going to be there. So it's really important you get this right. If you have this aim point over here, people are going to be looking at your clubhouse. That's not what you want to do. And this can become strategic a little later on, especially in par 5s. I'll show you that in a second. But we want the aim point. Now notice when I move this aim point around, the only ones that change distance here, okay, are my non-junior, non-par 3 tees, okay? Notice that down here in this corner, the only distances that are changing are those. The junior and par 3s are measured not through the aim point, they're measured directly to this marker. These guys, however, are measured through the aim point. So if I put this all the way back here, my yardages explode because it's going back to the aim point and then over to the green pin, that purple marker. All right, so that one is done. Let me move over to a par 5. And let's see, this is a monster interesting par 5 on this course. A F3 to view. So this is my par 5, and the tee box is right here. It's hard to see, but there are 2 tee boxes for my 3 tees. Actually, there's one up here too. 1, 2, 3 tee boxes, and a big dog leg left, and a green all the way over here. So this is, I know, hole 5. I'm going to add selected, drop this here in the middle, increase the size a little bit so I can see them. I'm going to put my green marker over here. Let me grab that again, put it over here. And now I also have my aim points. Aim point 1 is where you want your first shot to be aimed at. And I'm going to put this right here because when they're on this tee box, I want them aimed down the fairway, not into the water, okay? Aim point 2 is about where you think your second shot would be. Now, what happens is when you pass aim point 1, your next shot will be automatically focused on aim point 2. So this takes a little bit of thinking about, all right? And typically when I play this course, that's where my second shot wants to be because this is my approach to my green, okay? Now let's just move my tees to the correct spots here. So let me do my reds. Let's leave the juniors out and the par 3s out for now, whites. And now you're going to see that if I move this aim point, okay, again, it's only impacting my white, green, and red tees. It is not impacting the distance down here of my par 3s and my juniors. So I'm going to drop that right here. However, look at this one. This one does impact my junior tees. Okay, so consider this my aim point 1 for my junior tees. And remember, my junior tees rule of thumb, 50% of my tips. So the tips here are 482, so it's at 240. So I'm going to move this to about 240, someplace here in the fairway. So that's my aim point 1 for my junior tees, which looks pretty good. My par 3 is not impacted by any aim points. I'm going to move this so it's about 133 out, and I have a straight shot up to the green from there. And you can see all done. Now, one thing is you can see when I turn on T-slope, and this is something to pay attention to, it's going to show the slope of all my tee boxes. You want your tee boxes to be flat, okay? They look like shit if you don't. So make sure you flatten your tee boxes. You can see looking around here, ooh, I might have something mislabeled. Oh no, that is a tee box if I call. I might have to flatten that one out though. Okay, you can see that that's a little sloped, but all the other ones for the most part look good. That one's a little sloped. I might have to fix that. And again, over here, I might have to fix those. But you just want to make sure your tee boxes are flat. They don't look good unless you have them flattened out. Okay, you can turn that off. And then last thing is, if you want to go back and fix something, you can always do zoom to view, and it's going to zoom in on whatever hole that you went zooming in on. All right, so that's your T placement.